Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we are discussing a really interesting news update that I covered on dailypalantir.com yesterday. So we're gonna go to that article right now. Palantir taps former Air Force Reserve assistant Sean Massico. I might be saying his name wrong, but this person is now a senior counsel for Palantir. So here's the tweet that came from Palantir. We are excited to welcome former acting undersecretary of the Air Force Sean J. Manisco to Palantir. As a senior counselor, Sean will advance Palantir's leading edge software to meet the U.S. government's evolving and complex needs. So this was a really interesting piece of information for me to find out, and it was actually a good piece of information, primarily because of Palantir's growing government business that they are trying to continue to thrive. So a couple of things about who Sean was from his biography. He is the acting undersecretary of the Air Force appointed by Trump. Mr. Manisco is responsible for the affairs of the Department of Air Force to include organizing, training, equipping, and providing the welfare for approximately 685,000 active duty, Guard, Reserve, and civilian airmen and guardians and their family worldwide. He oversees the department's annual budget of more than $205 billion in direct strategy and policy development, risk management, weapons acquisition, technology investments, all this stuff. So obviously, the guy is what we could call legit when it comes to being able to internalize and understand how to run an organization from a governmental perspective, dealing with a massive budget, dealing with people's livelihoods, their families, all of that stuff, and actually executing in a meaningful way. So from November 2017 to December 2020, he served as the Assistant Secretary of the Air Force for Manpower and Reserve Affairs, the Pentagon, Arlington, Virginia. In this role, he was responsible for the supervision of manpower, military, civilian personnel, reserve components affairs, and the readiness of the Department of the Air Force. Now, why did Palantir pick him, and why is this good for Palantir? So I wrote in the article, in one word, this is really good for Palantir. Hiring these senior ranking officials with prior experience in some of the most complex forms of government is great for Palantir because, well, they have a thriving government business in the US that they want to grow further. It is incredibly important to remember Palantir's goal is to become one of the first government software prime contractors and the sixth prime contractor writ large. Right now, there are about 5 prime contractors. What is a prime contractor? It's someone who the government immediately, when they need a solution to a problem, whether it's hardware, software, whatever it may be, they call up those contractors, give them $50 million, and then those contractors use subcontractors to kind of facilitate the entire mission in and of itself. So Palantir is currently in a race competing with Raytheon Technologies to develop the Army Titans program, which is a prototype. If they're successful, they're going to get $36 million. And they've subcontracted Anduril Industries, which is a very, very exciting company in the context of defense. And Palantir wants to be a software prime, meaning if their technology is first in class and the best in class software, then every time the US government has to develop some type of meaningful software, they're going to go to Palantir, right? They're not going to do this bidding war because they want Palantir to get it. And then Palantir can do a bidding war with subcontractors. So why is having this person important? Well, hiring Sean, I wrote, is in line with Palantir's creation of the Federal Advisory Board, and this was created about 2 months ago, where they also recruited high-ranking officials in the U.S. government to aid them in their pursuit of new contracts and overall strategic vision in guiding their governmental business. They explained that the Federal Advisory Board is comprised of national security experts with firsthand experience facing America's most urgent threats. And here are some people on the board. We have the Honorable Christine Fox, former acting Deputy Secretary of Defense, General Carter F. Ham, former Commander, U.S. Africa Command, Honorable Deborah Lee James, former Secretary of the U.S. Air Force, Admiral William H. McRaven, former Commander, U.S. Special Operations Command, Vice Admiral Peter F. Neffiger, the Vice Commandant, U.S. Coast Guard, and former TSA Administrator. Obviously, a lot of interesting and important people that are on the board of your company. And when it comes to the United States federal government landing contracts or trying to dish out contracts to companies to be able to create unique software, Palantir can call up any of these people that have worked in the Air Force, were a secretary, all this crazy stuff. And now they got another guy, which is the person they appointed, Sean J. Massico, today, to be able to help land these deals. At the end of the day, I don't think they're paying these people to help consult them in the strategy of their government business. Yes, that's probably happening, and that's probably going to be valuable. But I think if a government official at some agency is deciding between Palantir and someone else, and they can make one call and say, hey, can you talk to, and when I mean you, the person on the Federal Advisory Board that you're paying as an outside consultant or whatever it may be, to this person who's a decision maker, and that decision ends up going your way, then it becomes incredibly attractive. Then it becomes better. Then it becomes a much better opportunity. And then at the end of the day, Palantir is able to land more deals. Now, what does this mean for the trajectory of Palantir as a company writ large? At the end of the day, in order for them to win, they need to land more government deals for 2 reasons. Number one, government revenue is slowing down. That's why Cathie Wood sold about 37 million shares, liquidated her entire position. Her entire logic was that the government business is slowing down, which is ironic because everyone was mad that the government was 60% of revenues 2 years ago. Now they're mad that commercial is increasing over the government. But they need to land more governmental deals. If they're able to do this, that revenue is sticky, that revenue doesn't go away, and that revenue quite honestly is going to be back for, it's going to be backed by the government. You're not going to get defaulted on not being able to get that revenue. So it's an incredibly important thing for them to land these governmental contracts and to become a prime contractor. Number two is they set the precedent around the world. They're already penetrating a ton of different European countries and being able to get European defense contracts because of the situations that's happened in Russia and Ukraine that accelerated the amount of contracts they were getting. If they become the prime contractor for the United States government, like, it is really hard for a European government to look Palantir in the face, knowing how much they care about privacy, ethics, civil liberty, GDPR, all these things that traditional tech companies do not care about. And then they're also the leading prime, software contractor for the freest, most, I would say, amazing democracy in the world, the United States. Well, it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder to not give them that deal. So I think from a foundational perspective, the trajectory of this is really, really good long-term in order for Palantir to be more successful, and hiring these people that are very strategic key assets are important. We know that Palantir is competing for a £330 million NHS, National Health Service, federated data platform deal in the UK that's probably going to be announced in November. They're in the lead to get it. And they've hired a bunch of people that used to work in the NHS in their AI departments to join Palantir, because they know if you've got those people that have these connections, it's just a much better chance of landing these types of government deals at the end of the day, which is important because government deals are hard to get, and sometimes you need some people who understand other people. Those are my thoughts. Let me know what you're thinking. Palantir stock price right now. Look, I know it's mooning. I don't know to trust it. I don't know to not trust it. It's at $10.08. We haven't seen $10 in a while. We'll see if this continues. I mean, we're going to see how the macro goes. At the end of the day, if the macro goes up, then a lot of stocks are going to go up. If not, then we'll see. But this type of news, I think, is great foundational stuff for the future of their governmental business. So that's it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening, and I will see you on the next one. And let me know your thoughts on Palantir and new government contracts.